everybody, Mr. Machado here with another video for you to keep learning from home. You might have already noticed that today's video is about vocabulary. And as you already know, vocabulary are important words that I need to know and use in order to sound like an expert on a certain topic. Today's topic is a little different. Actually, this entire week, it's going to be a little different. This is our last full week of school. It's the last week that we have 5 days in, and then the school year is over. So I decided to shift our gear and talk to you guys about a different topic this week. And the theme of this week is going to be equality. You might not know what the word equality means just yet, but at the end of the week, I'm pretty sure you're going to be very, very familiar with that word. So let's get started. For us to understand the concept of the word equality, we have to start with the word civil rights. Civil rights are the rights that all people in the United States, in the US, have to be treated as equals. And the word equal sounds a little bit like equality, so I'm giving you a little hint of what the word might mean. So equal rights means treating all the people the same. Everyone should be treated the same. But you know that unfortunately, that's not really true. That's not something that really happened every single day. In third grade, we talk a lot about colonial America. And you learned that a lot of people were kidnapped and brought to the United States by force from Africa, and they were forced to work as slaves. And we also know that even after slavery was abolished, and all those people that were brought from Africa, or the African Americans, and their descendants, they were never treated the same. We also know, we studied a lot about Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and some other people that really fought so everybody would be treated equally. Everybody would have the same treatment. So Black people or African Americans always faced a lot of injustice. And that's our next word. The word injustice means a behavior or a treatment that is unfair. For example, if you look at the picture, you might remember that many years ago, Black people were not allowed in the front of the bus. You can see that white people were sitting in the front of the bus and Black people were only allowed all the way in the back of the bus. That's a clear example of injustice. Black people and white people were not treated the same. And when people were treated differently because of their skin color, because of their race, because of where they come from, that is called racism. So the word racism means treating people poorly because of their race. And you know that the word race means where you come from, your ethnicity, your skin color. If you look at the picture, you're going to see a sign that says City of Fort Elizabeth, notice, for white persons only. So that's another example of racism. That's a place in the city that only white people are allowed. So brown and Black people would not be able to go to that beach, which is not fair. Again, another example of injustice. So how can we fight injustice? How can we make sure that everyone is treated the same? White people, Black people, men, women. How can we make sure that everybody has an equal treatment? One way is to become an activist. An activist is a person who works to make changes. Let's take a look at that paragraph right there. Let's read it together. Have you ever noticed something that didn't seem fair? Do you sometimes wish that you could make the world a better place for everyone? If so, then maybe you will become an activist. Activists are people who try to make changes in society. They work to persuade governments to end laws that are unjust and to make new laws that treat people more fairly and help protect the planet we live on. They try to make people aware of issues they care about. Some activists write and speak about problems they want to fix. Others take part in protests and demonstrations, organize boycotts, and start petitions. There are lots of ways to make a difference. So we just learned that an activist is someone that uses their voice and their power to make a difference, to try to change laws that are not fair, or to try to create new laws that would make sure that everybody's treated the same. There are several different ways that activists can do that. And one way is organizing boycotts. To boycott means to stop using a service as a way to protest it, to protest against it. So for example, if you look at the picture, we just talked about how Black people were not allowed in buses, in front of the buses back in the day. So what did they do? They organized boycotts. They decided to stop using buses so the bus companies would hurt because they're not making a lot of money anymore. So all the Black and brown people would just walk all over the place. Even though sometimes they had to walk for miles to get to their destination, they decided to protest by boycotting. So the bus companies were hurting. They were not making a lot of money. And that kind of forced them to change the rules, to change the laws and make sure that all Black and white people were treated the same, at least when they were inside buses. Another way that activists can use their voice to make changes is by organizing protests. To protest means to speak up or to act in a way that shows that you are not happy, you do not agree with something. Let's take a second and read that paragraph right there. Have you ever felt strongly about something? Maybe your school set a new rule, but you think it's very unfair. Or maybe you think your town is not taking care of the neighborhood playground. You think they should. When you feel strongly about something, you can protest. A protest is a way to make your voice heard. At a protest, people come together. They speak out against something they do not agree with. Sometimes they chant. They might hold up signs. Everyone has the right to protest. It is a powerful right. People have used protests throughout history. They are a way to make a difference in the world. So again, to protest means to speak up, to show that you are not happy with something. And people protest in many different ways. They organize marches, they chant, they make signs, they make t-shirts. And the most important thing is that when you organize a protest or when you are part of a protest, you have to remember that you have to be peaceful. That's our next word. The word peaceful means quiet and not disturbed by fighting or arguing. So the goal of the protest is just to show that you do not agree with something. So it's very important that people are still being respectful and peaceful. They are being respectful of each other, they are being respectful of the place they are protesting, and they are being respectful of the people who might not believe the same thing they do, the people who go against them. Some people take advantage of protests and those large gatherings of people to commit crimes. They are not activists. They are not there to try to fight for a cause. They are there to steal. And that brings us to the next word, the word looting. To loot or looting means to steal something during a catastrophe, such as a war, a natural disaster, rioting, or protesting. Some people break into stores and steal things, steal goods, just because they know it's going to be hard to catch them. Usually when you have a protest, you have a lot of people gathered in one place, so they know it's going to be hard to catch them, and they ended up committing those crimes. It's important to remember, though, that those people, they're criminals. They're not protesters. They're not activists. They're not trying to make a change. They're taking advantage of a situation to steal something, which is a really, really bad decision. I know you just learned a lot of words about equality, racism, protests, and it's a lot of new information. If you're still confused about it, do not worry. I have a special guest here that can explain things to you a little differently.
Daddy, Mama doesn't understand. What's happening? Why are all these people together?
Oh, well, they're gathering together to protest.
Protest? Mama doesn't understand. What's a protest?
Oh, a protest is when people come together to show they are upset and disagree about something. They want to make others aware of the problem. Through protesting, people are able to share their feelings and work together to make things better. They make signs like this.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm bringing this sign to the protest at the community center later.
oh. Oh, they look upset. Oh, are the protesters sad?
They are sad and upset, and they have every right to be, Elmo. People are upset because racism is a huge problem in our country.
Racism? What's that?
Oh, racism is when people treat other people unfairly because of the way they look or the color of their skin.
The color of their skin? Oh, Elmo doesn't understand, Daddy. Elmo has friends with different types of skin. Oh, and fur, too. Black, brown, pink,
Yeah.
purple.
I know, Elmo, but not all streets are like Sesame Street. I mean, on Sesame Street, we all love and respect one another. Across the country, people of color, especially in the black community, are being treated unfairly because of how they look, their culture, race, and who they are.
I hope this video helped you understand a little more the concept of racism and also understand a little more about what a protest is. You might know that there are a lot of protests happening all over the United States, not only Chelsea, not only in Boston, but all the cities in the United States. And there are also protests happening all over the world. Now it's a time that a lot of people are getting together to fight against racism and to fight for equality, to make sure that everyone is treated equally. We are going to talk a little bit more in the next video about the reason why we are having all these protests right now. But for now, let's talk about our exit ticket. For today's exit ticket, we are going to listen to a read aloud. We are going to listen to the book, A Kid's Book About Racism by Jelani Memory. And after we listen to that read aloud, we are going to answer a question. And the question is, what are some ways activists can fight against racism? And I'll give you the sentences started as well. Activists can fight against racism by... And if you're not really sure about what to write, just make sure to go back to the video, watch the video one more time, because we talked about different words and different ways that activists can fight for any cause. So that's our video for today. I'm excited to keep talking to you guys about equality, and I'll see you guys with the next video. Take care.